right. I'm glad to see everybody here ready in what's supposed to be freezing cold weather right now. But are y'all enjoying this warm weather we've had today? Loving it. We're just going to go ahead and claim that's going to happen all weekend long. So I want to jump straight in because Brandon did the most phenomenal job last week, and I'm just going to tell you, the bar has been set really high, and I love how this works out. I had the whole book of Job last time, and now I've got the whole story of Joseph. And so y'all ready to lock in and jump into this thing? Okay, so we're going to move. So this is the final part of our series on thorns, and we're going to dig into the thorns that are in front of us. We've dealt with the thorns from our past, the thorns that have been behind us. We've dealt with the thorns that have been deep in us. We've dealt with thorns that leave scars, the thorns that we've put out to other people. And now we're just going to talk about it. There are thorns that are going to be dead in front of you. There are going to be thorns that no matter what you do, ever since sin came into this world, thorns have been produced. And I don't care how often you cut your grass, you're going to have thorns start growing up. I don't care how many times you've gone through the woods, leave them for a little bit, and if you don't keep the path beat down, thorns are going to keep growing. And so you're going to be fighting thorns in the future for the rest of your life. So I want to take tonight and talk about a guy, a lot like Job, who there was something happening in heaven, and he only got a little piece of it. And God could see the story from way up high, but this guy could only get one piece of it, but there was going to be a bunch of thorns in his path, and he wasn't going to understand all of it. He wasn't going to understand why he was going through it, but God had a plan to do something, and these thorns and the conditioning against him was going to forge an amazing man of character that would save nations. Are y'all with me right now? All right, so I want to talk about this guy because his name is Joseph, and we're going to go through 11 thorns that are going to be in Joseph's life. Are y'all with me right now? Y'all buckled up and ready to dig? All right, so there's going to be a reality that we've got to step in first. Let me pick a good one here. The first thorn, we're just going to go ahead and tee up, is the one that takes place in the beginning in Genesis. All right, we're going to stay in Genesis all night tonight, y'all. Today, we're going to go. All right, so they're going to be doing a little work back here because I don't have a grinder. They're going to be doing a little bit of work back here on these thorns as we go through them because our thorns are also making something. Our thorns are creating something as we go through them. So sin came into the world, and it creates this foundation of thorns that are going to be around us. And our story begins today in Genesis chapter 37 in a land called Canaan. Now, there had been a man God called named Abraham, and Abraham was going to be the father of a great nation. He had one son called Ishmael, one son called Isaac. And Ishmael wasn't the way God had promised. Abraham had gone outside of God's will, and so Ishmael goes to become a great nation outside of God's promise. But this son, Isaac, is going to have a great nation come from him. Isaac winds up having two sons, Esau and Jacob. Esau and Jacob are twins, but Esau's born first. But God, for some reason, chooses the younger son, the second-born son. Now, Jacob, man, his name's going to be Israel. He wrestles with God. Jacob has so many ups and downs. He's known as a deceiver. And Jacob has this problem. He falls in love with this one girl, and the dad decides to trick him and gets him to marry her older sister, and he doesn't realize it till the morning when he woke up. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, that's a desperate honeymoon right there. When you didn't even realize till the morning after who you had been sweet to all night. The next morning, he realizes he had worked 7 years for one wife, wound up with the lazy-eyed woman. Next time, he has to work 7 more years that's what her name means, has to work 7 more years for her sister. Now, I just want you to picture this. We're all kind of laughing over Jacob at this point, but imagine the first wife, she spent the night with a guy. He wakes up and is like, who is you? She's like somebody from Myrtle Beach on a Saturday morning. Oh, they're filming tonight, ain't they? All right. I forgot for a second. Okay. Let's just take a second. If it's too real, switch the channel. So he works another 7 years, and he marries the other daughter. And imagine being Leah, who's sitting here, and the morning after your wedding, the man looks at you with nothing but disappointment. And so he marries the other woman, and he really loves her, and he wants her more than anything, but God opens the womb of the first wife. And I'm going to move through this real quick. And so the second wife is like, hey, I want a child, but I'm not having a child, so take my handmaiden and have a child with her. And so Jacob, he's not going to argue with his wife. He's like, okay, if I must. And so now he's having children with this woman. Well, then his first wife is sitting here, and she's saying, well, now you got to have a child with my handmaiden. And Jacob's like, oh, the heavy is the head that wears the crown. And so now he's having a child with her. Stress is coming into his life. And this happens again and again and again until finally one day, the wife he loves, Rachel, gets pregnant, and she has a baby boy. And that's where our story is going to be. This is his favorite wife and his favorite son, right? These sons are going to become the 12 tribes of Israel. And I want you to see Genesis chapter 37, verse 3. Now Israel, that's the name of Jacob. God changes his name. He says he loved Joseph, this son, more than any of his other sons because he had been born to him in his old age, and he made an ornate robe for him. This is the robe, the coat of many colors that we've heard so much about in Sunday school or in media or in movies or Broadway plays. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them. Now I want you to check this out. They've watched their father love this woman more than their mom. And now they see their father, and these are grown men, loving this child more than he's ever loved them. It says, and I want you to underline this, they hated him, and this is going to be very important. You want to hold on to this passage right here, and could not speak a kind word to him. Believe it or not, that's going to be our first thorn. Favoritism is something that makes us hate the person that's being showed favoritism, but imagine the burden of the person that's not doing anything to be shown favoritism, but's just hated. Imagine being loved and being hated because someone loves you so much. You with me right now? But that's a thorn, that's a burden, that's a pain Joseph will grow up in. And so I want you to see, to make matters worse, he's not only the baby of the family, he's not only daddy's favorite, he's not only the son of the favorite wife, but God, for some reason, chooses to give this kid a dream that says he's going to be greater than his brothers. Now it looks like he's God's favorite. Are you with me right now? Great for Joseph, bad for the brothers. We're the tribes of God's people, and now he's got a favorite? Now think about this just for a second. And so Joseph, he's kind of the snitch. And aren't all babies the snitch? I'll be honest, I snitched on Brandon all the time. That's why I was the favorite. You know what I mean? Heavy's the head, right? So I can identify with Joseph. You think you're doing a good thing, but snitches get stitches. And so what happens is Joseph goes and tells his dad on his brothers get upset, and then Joseph gets this dream, Genesis 37, verse 5. Joseph had a dream, and when he told his brothers, they hated him all the more. You want to know what the dream was? Listen to this dream I had. First thing, let me just go ahead and tell you. If you're already the spoiled baby that daddy loves over everybody else, you're just a glutton for punishment if you're going to go tell everybody how much God loves you too. And Joseph can't wait to go tell them. I'm not saying Joseph is perfect in this moment. I'm saying there's something in him that just can't help but rub salt in the wound. We were bringing in sheaves of grain in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it. You would think common sense would tell you in that point, shut up. His brother said to him, do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? And they, underline again, hated him all the more because his dream and what he had said. They hate him because his earthly father loves him. And now they hate him because of the plans his heavenly father has for him. Whew. And dad's okay with this until his next dream. Genesis 37:9. Then he had another dream, and he tells his brothers again. Listen, he said, I had another dream, and this time the sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. When he told his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him. Boy, I ain't had a problem with your brothers bowing down to you, but now check this out. What is this dream you had? Well, your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you? It's one thing for them. You're my favorite. I want them to bow down to you, but Daddy don't bow. His brothers were jealous of him. But I want you to remember, his dad was the one God chose over the eldest son, whose daddy didn't believe in him. And I want you to see this. His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. Now, I want to step back for a second because we got a long way to go. And I want you to think, God has given this kid, 17 years old, a dream that he's going to rule and that everyone's going to bow to him. There's only one world power at this point that could give him that much authority, and that's all the way in Egypt. And the Egyptians hate this family because they've gotten rich off the Egyptians every time they've encountered them. They hate shepherds. They hate Canaanites. The only person on earth that can give Joseph this kind of power is in Egypt. How would you get a favorite son of an overprotective dad into the presence of a king that hates Canaanites and shepherds so that that man can give him power? It's not going to be a straight path. It's not going to be easy. We couldn't figure it out. Joseph doesn't know, but God's got a plan. Somebody say, God's got a plan. Now, everybody in this room can say that with confidence right now, but let me remind you, Joseph's going to have to go through some thorny patches. He's going to have to endure some thorns. And the one thing that's hard is for us when a thorn is poking us to be able to say, God's got a plan. But I want you to hold on to that as we go through it. And so, his brothers hate him. That's thorn number 2. Let me go ahead and bring thorn number 2 out. I want you to see this part. His dad sends him to his brothers one day to check on him because remember, he is the snitch. He sends him to his brothers and he's like, I want you to go check on your brothers. And here's what it says in Genesis 37:19. His brothers see him a long way off and they say, here comes that dreamer. Come now. Now I want you to see this. This is his brothers, his grown men brothers. Here comes that dreamer. Come now, let's kill him and throw him in one of these cisterns and say a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams. Whew, that's a thorn. That's a pain. And it moves us to the next thorn. His brothers don't just hate him, they want to kill him. Now, anybody in here ever fight with your siblings growing up? You may have tried to kill each other, but did you really want to kill each other? These are grown men to a 17-year-old kid that really wants to kill him. And he's got one brother, Reuben, and this brother actually is like, man, I got to try and save him. And so when Reuben hears this, he tries to rescue him from their hands. He says, let's not take his life. Don't shed any blood. Throw him into the cistern here in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him. Reuben said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father. Reuben's thinking, let's just throw him in this hole over here that he can't get out of. Let's just throw him into a cistern in the ground. And then I'll sneak back later and take him back to dad. There's always one person in the family that's thinking logically. And so what they do is they take Joseph and they throw him into a pit. This is next thorn. And I want to clarify. Joseph didn't ask to be the favorite. Joseph didn't ask to be hated. He didn't ask for his brothers to want to kill him. And why, if God's got a vision for him, is he now being hated, wanted to be killed by his brothers, and thrown into a pit? And so they sit and they contemplate this, and this time comes to where one of them says, all right, we're not going to kill him, but let's sell him. And they see some of their cousins, the Ishmaelites, coming down the road. The Ishmaelites, the descendants of Abraham's firstborn. Let's sell him as a slave. Let's get a slave price for him. And I want you to bear in mind, Jesus was sold for 30 pieces of silver, which was a slave price as well. And so as we look at this, they sell him for what's probably 30 pieces of silver. And so they're getting money out of this. So instead of killing him, let's make some money and still get rid of him at the same time. Genesis 37:26. Judah says to his brothers, what will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come now, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood. after all, he is our brother. Let's just sell him as a slave. And his brothers agreed. Now, I want you to know this. Judah, of the father of the tribe of Judah, is the tribe Jesus will be born from. Underline that. We're going to need to see that. And so here we've got this next thorn that comes into his life. Joseph is sold into slavery. This young kid asked for nothing. What has he done really other than just be a 17-year-old kid trying to fit in with grown men? He's been hated his whole life because he was loved. He's been thrown into a pit by men that wanted to kill him, and now he's being sold as a slave. And then they take his coat and they rip it and they pour goat blood all over it. They take it to his dad, and his poor dad is crushed and believes his son's been killed by a wild animal. And think about this. Yeah, Dad, if you hadn't sent him out there, if you hadn't sent him to come check on us, Dad, who's at fault for him dying, Dad? Look at how dark the heart gets. But I want you to see this about Joseph. The one picture we know. I don't know that he doesn't cry out to God and say why. I don't know that he doesn't get hurt. I don't know that he's not complained. I don't know that that's not happened. What I do know is God takes the harshest thorn, going from the favorite son whose cloak, the sign of love your dad's given you, has been ripped from you, has been torn apart and covered in animal blood that is now the testimony of your death, that now he's been sold as a slave. But in such a hard moment, God shows up because it says he changes the heart of the man Potiphar who buys him. And Joseph's integrity and work ethic is so good, he stays so devoted to integrity that he gets put in charge of everything in this man's house. And the man says, I don't have to worry myself with anything. And so God is taking that thorn in his life and he's shaping him with it. It's still hard, it's still painful, but you can see God in it because there's a blessing. Genesis chapter 39, verse 6. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joseph's care with Joseph in charge. He did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Now, I want to share with you the next thorn in Joseph's life. And this is one, there's some men in this room that I think y'all are glad I'm going to address this one. It's two for one, okay? Hold on, don't take it yet. I got to tell them what it is. Just the next, here you go. You go take it. Here's what I tell you, guys. Some of you guys can relate to me on this one because this is it's a very painful thorn. It's a hard thorn. You didn't ask for it. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time. Are y'all ready? Joseph was well-built and handsome. Can anybody in here just get with me right now and just say, man, that is a burden. Right? I was the favorite son. You're with me right there. Okay. So I want you to see this. Joseph, this is what it says right here in Scripture in verse 6. Now Joseph was well-built and handsome. And after a while, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said,
come to bed with me.
She looks better than she is. But I want you to see the integrity here. I want you to see the integrity. He could justify this and say how bad life is, but he refused. And then it goes on. She tries to get him again and again and again. She tries to lure him. And one day he's alone in the house and she comes in. Verse 12 says she caught him by his cloak and said,
come to bed with me.
But he left his cloak in her hand and ran out of the house. That's 2 jackets my man's lost. I want you to see this. Verse 16. She kept his cloak beside her until his master came home. Then she told him this story.
The Hebrew slave you brought to us came to make sport of me because as soon as I screamed for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house.
I couldn't do a seductive voice. That's all I had, okay? Which brings us to thorn number 7, man. And thorn number 7 is one of the worst thorns any man could ever imagine happening. I just ruined that whole thing. I'll give you time. We were going to talk about discipline tonight, so I picked a bunch of switches. I'm just joking. But imagine this. He's accused of rape. I mean, have you ever had a moment where you thought, God, are you with me? Like, how am I being accused of this? No one believes me. I've been in charge of this whole house. I've been in charge of everything. No one believes me. Potiphar, dude, have I ever done you wrong? Man, I actually turned away from the advances of your wife. No. Which brings us to thorn number 8. Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where his king's prisoners were confined. And so what we find is this man has been sold, he's been lied on, and now he's thrown in prison. But he's in the blue-collar prison. But while Joseph was in the prison, the Lord was with him. He showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. I want you to see Joseph, every time a thorn in his life is unbearable, God gives him favor, but he lives in integrity. Now, I just want you to think about this for a second. Sometimes we could be that spoiled kid that loves throwing God's dreams in people's faces, and something has to happen to condition us and forge us into something else so that we can become the man that can actually live up to that vision. And so I want you to see this. Again, God blesses him. Joseph has integrity. And while he's in there with the Pharaoh's prisoners. And the Pharaoh gets upset, and he's got a chief baker and a cupbearer. And these guys are going to be really important tonight at communion. I'm not going to talk about that, but they're going to be really important, so hold on to it. I'm just going to tell you what they did. They're in prison. Joseph's in charge, and one night they both have a dream. I'm not going to go into the dream. I'm going to let you guys read it. But they come up, and Joseph's like, God can answer your dreams. And they're like, well, what do you mean? He said, tell me your dreams, and I'll tell you what God's saying to you. And one of them, the cupbearer, tells him his dream, and he says, oh, that's awesome. And then the baker tells him his dream. He's like, okay, I got good news and bad news. Good news, you're only going to be in prison 3 days. Bad news, at the end of 3 days, you're going to get your head cut off and get impaled. Cupbearer, though, really good news for you. At the end of 3 days, the Pharaoh's going to lift you up, and he's going to restore you, and you're going to have the job you had before, and everything's going to be good. Preach the word of God. Some people are going to love you. Some people are going to be like, well, that stinks. And here's what happens. Joseph asks one thing. Remember me. Imagine like the thief on the cross looking at Jesus saying, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Joseph is looking at this cupbearer and saying, hey, man, I'm falsely accused. I'm in prison. I know God's got something in store for me, and I just got to get in front of the right guy. And you're going to be standing in front of the right guy. And when you get out, remember me. Genesis 39:23. The chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. Falsely accused, sitting in prison, and everybody loves you when you're beneficial. But the second they're out, they left Joseph in the prison. Until the moment Pharaoh has a dream. And he's going to kill the people if they can't tell him what the dream means. And everybody's trying to find favor with Pharaoh. And then the cupbearer's like, hey, I know a guy. Hey, Big P, you remember back when you was mad and kind of having that hissy fit and throwing all of us in prison? You remember when you impaled and cut the head off of your baker and you brought me back? Me and you've been tight ever since. Me and you've been real good. Hey, I got a guy for you. This guy named Joe. I met him in prison. We served some time together. I had some dreams. He told me what it meant, told me I was going to come be back here with you. I can tell you, if it's going to make you feel good, Big King, I'm going to introduce you to this guy. He's going to hook you up. They take Joseph to the Pharaoh. Joseph says, hey, I can't tell you what your dream means, man. Check this out. Genesis chapter 41:15. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream and no one can interpret it, but I've heard it said that you hear a dream and you can interpret it. And here, imagine the cupbearer sitting there like, all right, man, come on, do your thing. We both going to be good. Come on, do your thing. And remember, Joseph got forgotten. I really believe Joseph does this intentionally. He looks at Pharaoh and says, I can't do it. Imagine being the cupbearer in that moment. Dude. But Joseph knows I've been accused, forgotten, abandoned, used, neglected, and I've been denied and I've been thrown. I've had everybody in this life turn against me, but the only person that's had my back from the pit to the prison, the only person that believed in me my whole life was God. And so I'm not going to take credit for what God's about to do. So I can't do it, but I know a guy. Check this out. But God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires. So Pharaoh, I want you to see this. Joseph interprets his dreams as like, dude, you got 7 years of good times coming, and you got 7 years of bad times coming. You got 14 years ahead of you. And if you're smart, you will steward what God has given you right now. And in the 7 years of bad that come after, God will not only save people, but he'll raise you up. Historically, during this time, Egypt goes from 9 kingdoms to 1 dynasty. Check this out. Pharaoh asked them, can we find anyone like this man? One in whom is the Spirit of God? He's impacting the leader that will be the leader of nations. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has made all this known to you, there is no one so discerning and wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace, and all the people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you. Thorn number 10. Pressure and power is a thorn. Now, I want you to think about this. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, wanted to kill him, sold him as a slave, worked hard, accused of rape, not believed, thrown in prison, helped people, forgotten. Joseph could, in this moment, if he had been a person with no integrity, imagine if he was that self-righteous, spoiled kid that loved to tell his dreams. Imagine if he had become hardened because of all these thorns. Imagine if he had just become calloused from all these thorns and he just got this power. Imagine if he could stand up and tell the people, you know what? My first order of business is we're going to go and we're going to chase down my brothers. My second order of business, we're going to go see Potiphar. I want him and his wife brought right here. I want her thrown into, he could have done that. He could have stood there and said, well, I'm handsome, very beautiful, well-built. Pharaoh himself says, who is greater than me? I'm in charge of everything. He could have gone after power. He could have praised himself. But what has he done in every hardship? He does the same thing in a position of power. He works diligently. He has integrity because he's going to save people from the famine that's coming. Then the famine comes to the land. 7 years of plenty. What do we do during time of plenty? We enjoy it. What do we do when hardship comes? Panic because we spin it. And everybody starts to collapse except for this kingdom in Egypt that Joseph is in charge of. And they begin to acquire land and power as they trade for food. And this famine spreads throughout the whole land all the way to Canaan, where Joseph's family is. And it gets so bad, they're so hungry that they have to go to Egypt and they have to sell what they have to buy food. Humbling themselves to go back into a land they're not welcome in, to go stand before an Egyptian ruler. And here they are, finding themselves, as they present themselves, they have to bow down in front of this man like sheaves of wheat to be able to petition food. And I want you to see the 11th thorn in Joseph's life. Well, we're going to get it. Joseph, could you imagine, no matter how much power you got, there's a position that has to happen right here. He's got all the power of Egypt behind him, and he could be filled with rage when he sees them. And he could say, seize them and kill them. Remember me? Or he could be filled with anxiety and fear because something from his childhood that was mean to him is now standing in front of him. What's going to happen? Thorn 11, Genesis 42:8. Although Joseph recognized his brothers, they did not recognize him. You don't even know who I am. You're looking right at me. I'm that little to you. I'm that nothing to you. Let me take that thorn out of your flesh. If people don't recognize you after God's been changing you, it's not nothing negative on you. It's God did a good job of changing what they were looking for. Okay? Now, Joseph knows in this moment, I want to just move through this and help you guys because we're still We're right here at it. Joseph has choices, but has he become the man God's called him to be or not? What does redemption look like? Joseph longs for restoration for his brothers. But what does it look like? And Joseph's wise, he's not a fool. And so as his brothers are trading, Joseph wants to restore them, but are they changed? If I were to bring men like the ones that threw me into a cistern and sold me as a slave into the kingdom, that could be bad. Have they changed? Joseph doesn't tell them who he is. Joseph lets them buy grain, and then, I want you to see this, he accuses them of being spies. He takes them and has them put in prison. Now, I want you to remember, he accuses them of being spies. What did they say when he came to them when they were out and his father sent him to check on him? They called him a spy. What's Joseph doing? Oh, y'all spies. And so Joseph says, you guys are those Canaanites that have gotten rich off of us, and now you're coming here, and you're trying to profit off of us. You're spies. You're trying to sneak something through on us. And so one of the things happened is he has them arrested, and he has them brought before him. They don't know what's going on. They just went to buy grain. They don't recognize him, and they're panicking. And so they do something that some of you ladies are familiar with if you've ever gone and got your nails done. They start speaking in another language thinking he can't understand it. Hebrews chapter, Genesis chapter 42, I want you to see, Reuben replied, didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy, talking about Joseph when he was young? But you wouldn't listen. Now we must give an accounting for his blood. They did not realize that Joseph could understand them since he was using an interpreter. Here's what's happening. Something bad's happening in their life. They're in another country. They can't get extradited back home. They ain't got no passports going to help them at this point. They ain't got no government force can help them at this point. And they're sitting here like, we're stuck, we're doomed. And immediately look at what's been under the surface. It's because of what we did to him. Verse 21 says, they said to one another, surely we're being punished because of our brother. We saw, and I want you to hear this. This is the first time it's very clear. We saw how distressed he was when he pleaded with us for his life, but we would not listen. That's why this distress has come on us. Is Joseph getting even? Or is God bringing about redemption? Joseph takes this opportunity to question them and see if they'll be honest. He's like, do you have a father? And you can tell where Joseph's heart's been. Like, yes, we've got an elderly father. Is he still alive? Yes. And we've got a brother. You got another brother? Yeah, we had a brother that died and about tore our daddy's heart out. And it was of his favorite wife, and she got pregnant and had another kid, but she died in childbirth. My mom's dead, but I got a baby brother. His name's Benjamin. It means child of happiness. Joseph says, okay, if you want to prove to me you're not spies, go get me that younger brother so I can see him. For years, Joseph's been away from home. He didn't even know this young man existed. Go get that young man and bring him back here and prove to me. He's not trying to get them to prove they're not spies. You remember where their heart was? Towards his mama and her offspring. He locks them up for 3 days. And then he says, I'm going to give you integrity. I'm going to keep one of you here. And I'm going to keep this one, Simeon, here. And the rest of y'all go back and bring me back the brother. I'll give you more food, and you can take him with you. Just prove to me what kind of men you are. And they go, and they have really no intention. And Joseph's like, I know what kind of men they've been. So he takes the silver that they gave him, and he puts it in their sacks. Doesn't say anything. As they're traveling back home, when they get there, they open their sacks, and the money's there, and they're like, oh my gosh, we're dead. Didn't we pay them? They're going to say we didn't pay them. All this stuff's going to happen. And they tell their dad, hey man, we got to go back. We got to take Benjamin with us. And dad's like, no, you're not taking Benjamin. I done lost Joseph. You ain't taking Benjamin. You don't understand, Dad. We can't go back and get more food. We can't go back and get Simeon. Simeon's a grown man. You're not taking Benjamin. Dad, you don't, okay. And they try and wait it out, but the famine don't get no better. You can't outwait God. And then one day, you got Judah and the brothers go to their father and they're like, Dad, you don't understand. There's no food. Our families are going to die. We got to go back. And the only way he said we'd ever see his face again is if we brought our younger brother. And the dad says, you don't understand. He's all I got left. And if he dies, I die. And Judah, the one who sold him as a slave, steps up and says, then put it on me. If I don't bring him back here to you alive, I will bear it all. I will trade it all. They go back. Man, I wish we had time to go through all of this. It's so good. Hear me here. Hear me here. They go back, and Joseph sees that boy. And they find out Simeon's lived like a king while they've been gone. And Joseph throws a banquet when they come back. And they're like, hey, we brought you gifts. We brought offerings. They're bowing down to him. We brought double the amount of silver. Crazy story. We had all this silver in our bags when we got back. And we wanted to make sure we were fair. We brought you double payment this time and gifts. And Joseph's like, y'all coming to my house tonight. I got a banquet. And Joseph does something crazy, man. He actually sits them in their birth order. There's no way he should know that. And they're tripping out. They're like, wait, we're sitting according to the order of the tribes. We're sitting according to the order of our birth. How is that happening? And when they were feeding him, in Genesis 43:34, it says, when portions were served to them from Joseph's table, he's feeding them from his table, a table of luxury. It says Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as anybody else's. That's my baby brother right there. But how are they going to act when I show favoritism to him? See the test? What's he looking for? He ain't trying to break them. He's trying to find out, did you change? So they feasted and drank freely with him. Joseph still can't tell. And so the next day they're loading up and they're getting ready to go. And Joseph says, take my silver cup and put it in the boy Benjamin's bag. This is the test. As they begin to leave, Joseph sends his men out. And the men start walking. And they catch Joseph's brothers and they're like, oh no, what's going on? And they're like, one of you guys stole my master's cup. It's a beautiful, elaborate plot that unfolds here. I'm going to summarize it like this. And they're like, if any of us stole that cup, you can kill us. And they go through the bags until they get to Benjamin's, and when they open it, there's the cup. What'd you say we could do? And I want you to see what happens, man. In this moment, the brothers start speaking up. Genesis 44:33. In this moment, what starts happening is the brothers, I'm going to read this other part. Imagine Benjamin at that moment. Imagine what's happening. They're like, we're your slaves. We'll just be your slaves. Just keep all of us. And I want you to see what Joseph says in 44:17. But Joseph said, far be it from me to do such a thing. Only the one man who is found with a cup will be my slave. The rest of you go back to your father in peace. I'm only going to keep the one that had my cup. The rest of y'all can go. Here's the test. Will you sacrifice him for yourself? Will you say, I don't want you all as slaves. I want this one. What are you going to do about that? And here's this brother Judah. And Judah, the one that said, it's on me, I'll take responsibility, comes and he pleads and he says, you don't understand. I told you we got this dad. I told you this was his last son. I told you what happened to our brother. I told you what happened. Genesis 44:33 says, now then, please let your servant remain here in my Lord's house as a slave. Let me take his place. Let the boy return with his brothers. How can I go back to look at my father if this boy's not with me? No, don't let me see the misery that would come on my father. And in that moment, Joseph knew they changed. And the tribe of Judah changed that day. Because that day, the tribe that would bring about the Messiah declared, I'll take the place. I'll be the sacrifice. They went from those who would sell others out to be those who would take the place. And Joseph could not hold back anymore. And he weeps and cries out, it's me, your brother Joseph. And they were petrified. And he's like, come to me. Yeah. What you did to me was a part of God making me into something that would save you and your children and others. God had a plan, and we can be one again. Go get our dad. Bring the father to me. Bring the families here. You're living in a famine. Let me put you in a place where you'll never want for food again. Let me put you in a place where you'll never struggle again. Let me provide for you a paradise, a promised land, a place that cannot be defiled. Sound familiar? Joseph underwent 11 different thorns, and he had 11 brothers. He had to endure the pain of those he was going to save. Let me say this, man. Can I have the thorns? Because our God will take the thorns that we bring pain with and forge them into something that is as powerful as a crown. And a crown of thorns takes the corruption of our sin from the beginning, our mistakes from the beginning, that if we will confess the truth, if we will repent, if we will turn to him, then he can take us to a place of redemption, a place where there's no pain, there's no suffering. The word says that he will wipe the tears from our eyes. There'll be no sickness, no death, no pain, no thorns. Are you with me right now? Yeah. The final thorn that was in Joseph's life comes in Genesis 50, and I'm just going to tell it to you like this. When his dad died, his brother said, now he'll kill us. And they go to him and like, what are you going to do now? And Joseph says, don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. So don't be afraid. I'll provide for you and your children. And he reassured them and spoke kindly to them. I want you to remember in the beginning, when his brothers saw their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to them. And I want to read this again. He reassured them and spoke kindly to them. Last week, Brandon talked about scars, and Joel said that Jesus kept his scars, and we see him show them to Thomas. But I want to tell you, crown of thorns would create scars. And a real crown of thorns would have been domed, so they would have stabbed all over Jesus' head, and we know those scars were there. Why did Jesus keep the scars? Because when the thorns are removed, the scars are his crown, and those scars are his way of saying, I love you. I take the thorns that you bring, and I remove them. I pay the price for them because I speak kindly to you, because you are redeemed and we are family. I say this to you today as clearly and as earnestly as I can. Jesus comes on behalf of the Father and takes our thorns. He bears our scars with us. And there are many of us who hurt. And we live in torment and anxiety again and again and again because we got to get these thorns out, or because we're scared of the next one we go through, but God walks them with us. And here's what he asks, that you will confess to him, that you will confess what you've done, that you will repent of it, that you will change, that you will become the person who removes thorns instead of the person who inflicts thorns. If we can do this, he longs to wash us, to cleanse us, to redeem us, for us to go from being the broken ones to being his family, to take us to a promised place, a place with no sickness, no death, where he provides for us and our children. I want you to know this today. There are going to be thorns in your path and hard roads you're going to have to walk, but God will guide your steps, and he will forge out of them a crown of righteousness. He will forge out of them the integrity of his people, and you will be a light to the world if you don't give up. There is a reward on the other side, not for us to be vain, not for us to be superior, but for us to help redeem those who are broken. Will you get up with me, church, right now? We're going to sing, and I ask you to do one of two things tonight. One, I ask you to search deep inside your heart, and if God has redeemed you, if he has taken thorns from you, if he's walked with you, then I ask you, praise with us tonight as we worship the Savior who wore our thorns. And if tonight you've been in that place of brokenness and there's something you need to move from, if you will repent, if you will confess, if you will come to him, if you will be washed in him, if you will be cleansed and become a child of God, there is a promise that he will never forsake you. He will walk with you. And there is a place coming with no more thorns. And it's for you and it's for me. Come on, my family. Let's change the world.